Hello. So today I'm going to be showing you how to solve word problems, the four main starter types for my 8th grade Algebra 1 class. It's by me, Destiny Sutton. This was taught by Mama Mani and Babu Balku at Aya Educational Institute. What is a word problem? A word problem is a math question that is mostly written with words instead of numbers and symbols. You can run into these types of problems in everyday life. An example would be Johnny has 8 apples. He gave 6 of them to Nikki. How many apples does Johnny have left? This could also be written as 8 minus 6 equals what? What do you use to solve word problems? You do something called converting English to Mathlish. Mathlish is a made-up word. Converting English to Mathlish is the process that you do when you're changing a word problem into an actual equation. Mathlish is the quote-unquote language of number equations. An example would be 1 plus 2 equals 3, instead of 1 increased by 2 has a sum of 3. There are certain keywords in every problem that tell you how to set it up as an equation, and there are many different types of word problems. Some are asking you to find a missing value, some are increasing a number, decrease a number, etc. What are the four main types of word problems? The four main beginner types are solve for a number, find a percentage, percentage increase, and consecutive integer. Solving for a number is when you have to find a missing value that is represented by a variable. Finding a percentage is when you're converting a number into a percentage. Percentage increase is when you are increasing a number using a percentage. Like you add the number to the percentage. And consecutive integers are when you have to find which consecutive integers. An example would be 1, 2, 3, add up to a final value. This is a chart of the rules for converting English to Mathlish. Feel free to pause here and take a screenshot so that you can use it later on. So a way to remember steps to use when solving a word problem would be Quick Vicky trapped several mice. That is just QVTSM. Q stands for quantity. What is the quantity the problem is asking for me to find? V, variable. Assign the missing quantity a variable. T, translate the question from English to Mathlish. S, solve for the variable. M is for meaning. What was the value that the variable was representing? Now we'll show you how to solve for a number. What does it mean to solve for a number? Solving for a number means that you have to find the hidden value in the equation. In math, the hidden value is called a variable and is usually represented by a letter. In order to solve these types of problems, you have to change the words into a solvable equation by using Mathlish. In my example, eating and giving away something is the same as subtraction. Picking apples or receiving some is addition. And since I didn't say how many apples our future character has at the beginning of the day, that's going to be our hidden value. So the example that I'm referring to is Sahim had some apples. He ate 2 apples, gave 2 to Jerry, picked 5, and had 20 by the end of the day. How many apples did Sahim have at first? After you translate using the chart that I showed you a few slides ago, you will get n minus 2 minus 4 plus 5 equals 20. Not done there yet, because you still have to figure out how many apples Sahim had at first. And so n equals what? That's what you have to solve. Here's a sample problem. Now we're gonna try solving a word problem that has a hidden value using the English to Mathis rules. The chart is at the top. So Io has 8 properties. He wrote a contract to sell 9 of them, then got 2 more properties. When he wrote the contract, he didn't sell them yet. But after he gained those 2 properties, he finally sold off the amount of properties he wrote contracts for. How many properties does he have left? Now we have to convert that word problem into math. Always remember that the missing value should come first in the equation. It would be written as 8n plus 2 equal. Oh, wait, wrong problem. It would be written as n equals 8 plus 2 minus 9. Ignore the problem at the other side on the bottom. It should actually be written as 8. Yeah, that's correct. Um, Now you have to solve the problem. You're solving 8 plus 2 minus 9. Remember to use PEMDAS. So first you could put a parentheses around 8 plus 2 to break up the problem into easier parts to solve. So you would solve 8 plus 2 first. PEMDAS stands for parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. So we're going to do the addition, and we're going to do the addition first because it came first in the problem. So after you add 8 to 2, you get 10. So now your rewritten problem is n equals 10 minus 9. And then once you subtract 9 from 10, you get 1. So n equals 1. And so Io has 1 property left. Finding a percentage. What does it mean to find a percentage? Finding a percentage is when you have to find what percent of blank is blank. A word problem example would be Tyler is making a presentation for his business and he only is allowed to use percentages to represent most numbers. On one slide, Tyler wants to write out of 56 stocks, 14 of them were successful. How would you write 14 as a percentage? A simpler way to word the problem would be what percent of 56 is 14? As written in the English to Mathis translation, what percent of what percent is written as n over 100? Of means multiplication, and is means an equal sign. So the word problem written as an equation would be n over 100 times 56 equals 14. While solving this, remember that what you do on one side, you have to do on the other. And when you need to remove a value from one side of the equation, use the same value and do the opposite rate of operation that is attached to it. So written again, the word problem would be your equation would be n divided by 100 times 56 equals 14. So to cancel out the first 100 in the word problem, you would do multiplying by 100 instead of dividing by 100. So since the two 100 would cancel out each other because there are two opposite operations, you would only be left at the end. And since you did times 100 on one side, you have to do times 100 on the 14 side. So the answer on that side would be 1400. And so on our first side, you would be left with n times 56. You can rewrite that as 56n. When you attach a number to a letter with the number coming first, and then the variable that represents multiplication. And so to isolate the n, you would have to divide away the 56. So you would do 56n divided by 56, and you would just be left with n. And you would also have to do 1400 divided by 56, and you'd be left with 25. 25 what? 25%. So n equals 25%. And on Tyler's presentation, he would write out of 56 stocks, 14 of those stocks were successful. There is also a second type of finding a percentage. Another type of finding a percentage problem is when you have to find what percent of what equals what. A word problem example would be Aaron has beaten 15% of the Titans. There are 24 Titans in total. How many Titans has Aaron beaten? The simple way to word the problem is what is 15% of 24? What is 15% would be written as 15 over 100. Percentages are the same as fractions, and fractions represent division. Next, to make sure that you are multiplying two fractions, you have to change the 24 to a fraction as well, which would be 24 over 100, because any number written over 1 means that the number that you wrote on the top is a whole number. So your written question would be 15 over 100 times 24 over 1. When multiplying fractions, you multiply the top numbers by each other and then the bottom numbers by each other. Top numbers are called numerators and bottom numbers are called denominators. So you will multiply the two numerators by each other, and then you will multiply the two denominators by each other. Keep the same fraction format. So you could write the problem as 15 times 24 over 100 times 1. 15 times 24 equals 360, and 100 times 1 equals 100. So it would be written as 3600 over 100. To simplify the 100 into only a 1, you would have to move the decimal forward two places. So you would have to do the same thing to the top, as above, so below. So to So when you're moving the decimal two places, first the 100 would change into a 10 and then into a 1. And when you do the same thing to the top, the 360 would go from 360 to 36 to 3.6. And now your new fraction is 3.6 over 1. And that's the same as just saying 33.6. So, Aaron has beaten 3.6 Titans, and he's currently still fighting the last Titan. Now I'm going to show you how to do percentage increase. What does it mean to increase a percentage? Increasing a percentage is precisely what it sounds like. It's when you take a percentage value and increase, also called adding, to it. A word problem example of this would be Sally had 76 knives. Then she gained 2% knives. She didn't eat the knives, she just got more. Now she has more than 76 knives. How many knives does Sally have now? A simple way to write that problem would be what is 76 increased by 2%? When preparing to solve this problem, you have to add another 76 to multiply into the 2%. This is so that the percentage is not out of 100, like all um, percentages are. And if when you multiply the 76 into the 2%, it's no, it'll be no longer out of 100 but out of 76. So to rewrite the problem, you would have to write the 76 plus 76 times 2 of 100, which is 2% written as a fraction. Then you can change that fraction into a decimal to make it a little easier to solve. Now you have to do the 76 times 0.02 so that the percentage answer will be out of 76. You could also leave the problem as a fraction if you want. Just remember that the 76 times 2 of 100 would be written as 76 times 2 on the top, and then on the bottom it would be 1 times 100. But continuing on as it written as a fraction, as a decimal, um, you after you multiply 76 times 0.02, you would get 1.52. Now you still have to add the original 76. So your rewritten problem would be 76 plus 1.52. Lastly, solve that part like you would solve any other adding decimals equation. And so 76 increased by 2% is 77.52. Now Sally has 77.52 knives. I think she broke the the what would have been the 78th knife. She didn't eat it though. Do not eat knives. Now I'm going to show you how to solve for consecutive integers. What does it mean to find consecutive integers? Finding consecutive integers is when you have to find numbers that are in a continuous and unbroken pattern. The most common list of consecutive integers is when you're counting from 1 to 10. Their pattern is that they always go up by 1. Another way of consecutive integers would be if you're going up by, let's say, 2 continuously and you're not changing going up by 2 to going up by 3 or 5 or something, you always stick to 2. So it would be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, so on and so forth, continuing going up by 2. A word problem example of finding consecutive integers would be Malin realized that she wrote that 5 consecutive integers add up to 30 in her drawing pad. What were the consecutive integers? The main problem is, what are the 5 consecutive integers that add up to 30? 5 consecutive integers is written as n, n plus 1, n plus 2, n plus 3, n plus 4. You can replace the commas with plus signs because you will have to add them together later. And 0 is an integer, so you would be you infer that n, let's say it means 0. So your problem would be n plus 1. Your problem would be 0, 0 plus 1, 0 plus 2, 0 plus 3, 0 plus 4. But we're leaving it as 1. We're leaving it as n for now, because any other number would also be an integer. So rewriting the comma with all plus signs would be n plus 1 plus n plus 2 plus n plus 3 plus n plus 4, and that equals 30. And you can rearrange the problem by putting all the similar values next to each other. So it would be n plus n plus n plus n plus n plus 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, and that all would equal 30. And you can condense the similar values into a different form of them using fewer operations. The 5n's would become 5n because 5 times n is the same as 5n, and 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, when you solve that, it equals 10. So it will be written as 5n plus 10 equals 30. Now you can get rid of the 10 standing all by its own, because it's just a simple 10, and it would be easy to remove. So remember, what you do on one side, you will have to do on the other. So the inverse operation of addition is subtraction. So you subtract away the 10 on one side, and since you did it on the other side, you have to do it to the other. So 30 minus 10 is 20. So rewriting the problem would be 5n equals 20. Now you still have to single out the n, so you would have to divide away the 5. When isolating a variable, you have to do the opposite operation that's attached to cancel out the value. So instead of doing times 5 times, you would do divided by 5. So the 5 gets divided away, and there's no longer a 5 there. And then since you divided by 5 on one side, you have to divide by 5 on the other side, and 20 divided by 5 is 4. And so n equals 4. And you still have to figure out what the integers are, but once you remember our original equation, you realize that now we do know what the hidden values are. So now we don't have to write n anymore. We can write 4, because that's what the n was representing. So rewriting the problem, it would be 4 plus 4 plus 1 plus 4 plus 2 plus 4 plus 3 plus 4 plus 4 equals 30. Now we can start adding the numbers together to find the actual integers. So once you add the 4 plus 1, 4 plus 2, 4 plus 3, 4 plus 4 to each other singularly, you would get 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8, and that equals 30. So the consecutive integers that added up to 30 in Malin's drawing pad were 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. You can check this by adding the numbers together and making sure that your answer is 30. And 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8 does equal 30. Thank you for watching, reading, and listening to my presentation.